I'm going to show you some discrete nervous system interrupters that you can use when you're in an environment that it may not be appropriate to take a big breath and come into namaste to help regulate your emotional state of being. We're going to go through a few little techniques that you can do in the moment when nobody else around you is going to be aware of what it is that you're doing. So to start with, by activating the third eye up here, literally closing the eyes and lifting the gaze to the center of the brow as you inhale and exhale. A simple cleansing breath, but as you raise the gaze up into this energy center, what happens is the frontal cortex of the brain tends to come together. Our emotional regulation and our reasoning and control comes back into balance. Another great technique is pressing the tongue to the roof of the mouth, which again can be done without anybody really knowing what it is that you're doing. Simply clenching the mouth and pressing the tongue right into the roof of the mouth. And as you can see, that's a very discreet way to break the autonomic response in your central nervous system and bring you back into the present moment, to silence that itty-bitty shitty committee, bring your emotional regulation back into balance, and just literally give yourself a moment of pause to assess what is happening in the present moment. Another great way is combining those two together. So closing the eyes, lifting the gaze to the center of the brow and pressing the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Another option is stimulating the polyvagal nerve. Just at the back of the head here, where you'll find that very small little indentation where the skull meets the top of the spine, is where the polyvagal nerve sits. By simply rubbing this area, tapping, strumming, whatever feels natural and comfortable to you, it is something that you can do in the moment to once again break state with the emotional arousal that you're experiencing and bring the conscious mind and the subconscious mind back into present alignment. As you've experienced in your one-on-one sessions, the placing the hands to the heart. When our sternum and thymus gland is activated by pressure, once again, it disrupts that emotional arousal that we are experiencing, getting pulled into old ways of being, moods, and patterns, beliefs, and behaviors that no longer serve us. The minute we activate this energy center, relax the shoulders, and breathe, there is a physical, biochemical response in the body that allows our system to still and become calm. Another way to do this is by pressing into the solar plexus. So just below the breastbone and where the ribs meet is the center of the solar plexus. Be gentle when you press in this area, as if your body is under a lot of stress, it can be quite sensitive. So simply rubbing this area, once you feel emotional arousal ratcheting up, it can bring you back to that present moment. And this is the subtle way to do it. If you're in a more private environment, a beautiful way to energetically move this area is to open the arms up, bring the hands together and exhale down to the heart center, press the hands together and press the thumbs into the breastplate, right into that sternum once again, activating the nervous system and the conscious and subconscious mind to come back into the present moment. Another tapping exercise you can engage in is activating at the top of our thymus gland, which is along the collarbone. And that's literally taking the 3 fingers and tapping very lightly along this area. And you'll remember from our polyvagal stimulation video that you can move up along the back of the ears and down this sinuous muscle that leads from the ear all the way down to the collarbone. And you can tap in any rhythm and any fashion that feels comfortable and soothing to you. Having the capability to disrupt the central nervous system once we are experiencing negative emotional arousal, or hearing that itty-bitty shitty committee start to get loud and begin to ruminate, disrupting that old pathways in the brain of automatic behavioral response, cutting it in that instant, becoming consciously aware of what's happening, calming and soothing the central and parasympathetic nervous system, brings our body back into alignment and gives our brain a moment to regulate emotional response and our control and regulation response. Rather than just having our emotional response light up like a Christmas tree and our sense of reasoning and control blacking out, what we are doing is igniting these both sides of the brains and bringing them together to better support us in the present moment. When we experience an arousal of negative emotions, or the itty-bitty shitty committee going into rumination, what's happening on an energetic level is our emotional body is getting split into two places. It's being drawn back into the past, recalling an old hurt or an old wound, and throwing itself into the future, trying to manipulate a future outcome to protect us from what the subconscious mind perceives will be hurtful. When we disrupt this through the nervous system, what happens is the energetic body comes back into an alignment, and that way our emotional body can better support us. It's almost as if that energetic body literally hugs our physical form. The more frequently we can interrupt that automatic response of old patterns, beliefs, and behaviors, the more quickly we begin to regulate in the present moment. And the more often that we do it, you find that this becomes your new state of being. And you let go of those old ways of being, moods, habits, patterns, beliefs, and behaviors that are all held in a stagnant energy that no longer serves you. This is why we don't go back into the past to pick around our past wounds and hurts, fears, resentments, and anxieties. We become consciously aware of how those ways of being are limiting and playing out in our adult life in the present moment. And as we correct it in the present moment, the brain creates new neural pathways. So ultimately, our response, our second nature, our innate go-to is pause. Decompress with self-compassion and self-love, and it allows us to respond to the event consciously rather than being reactionary to the tidal wave of negative emotions that may wash over us in a stressful situation. What we are consciously aware of, we can shift. When we know better, we can do better. And where conscious attention goes, loving energy flows. I'm sure you've all experienced that feeling of when you meet somebody and you just go, you enjoy being in their presence. They feel warm, you feel connected to them, they feel safe. What it is that you are experiencing in that moment is you are in the energetic field of a person that is in consistent emotional regulation. It feels safe for a reason. It feels good to be in that energy and resonance because it is safe, it is grounding, and it is authentic. The more you do these techniques, the more you remain in that state of conscious awareness and emotional regulation, your vibration changes and you become that vessel of safety, warmth, calm, authenticity, and genuine loving consciousness.